Hare Krishna. Before I begin, I would like to offer some prayers. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Ramo Hare Hare. Would like to welcome all of you all again to today's Jagruti festival. Today we're going to speak on this topic, too busy to be happy. Albert Einstein, he said that life is like riding a bicycle. And in order to keep the right balance, you have to keep moving. So many times, our life has become just like a fast-paced cycling competition. And if any of you all have had practice of riding cycles, you understand this. You can't stand in a cycle. You have to either move or park it. The moment you try to stand, you fall down towards one side. The world in which we live is a world which is full of movement. And today's mobile society, we travel much faster and much further than people in the past ever expected to. Naturally, the result of that is that every employer is looking at getting more productivity from their employees. But in general, people feel that having gadgets, having facilities, having all these things essentially means that I should get more leisure time. But if you actually see, literally no one has any time whatsoever today. Why? The reason is very simple. The reason is that today people have literally no patience left in this world of fast-paced living. People want to control things and control speed. Now we have 3G internet, 4G internet, 5G internet, God knows how many Gs will come. That means we are trying to move, trying to get information, trying to have access to communication at mind-blowing speeds. The result of the speed is that our patience has completely gone down. And naturally, people can't tolerate it. Traditionally, Indians, how are Indians known in the world? Indians are known as people who are very patient and have a lot of tolerance towards life. We often go on long trips, pilgrimages. One time we were traveling in a train in the heat of summer, and we were going all the way to Calcutta, 36-hour journey by train. And we were traveling in a second class compartment. And along with us, there were some people from America, young boys. First time they were traveling in a second class train in India in the summer. So you can imagine what their situation is. They were going crazy in the heat, And I mean, all the Indians, they were completely cool, absolutely unaffected. So and then they realized that the fans are not working in the train. So they requested, can you put on the fan? And as usual, Indian Railway put on the fan didn't work. So one of our devotees, he said, do you have a comb? I mean, we don't have combs, naturally. So he borrowed a comb from somebody who was sitting there, So he got on the, seat and he started hitting the fan, So this Western devotee, he was wondering what's happening, Why is he hitting the fan? So then, after some time, after 2-3 hits, the fan started moving. And then he said, what's this? What technology is this? We said, this is static electricity. Comb, it works. Indian technology. So essentially, Indians have a lot of ability to solve problems because traditionally they're supposed to be patient people. But unfortunately, in today's time and age, even in the land of India, the ability to solve problems is decreasing because we're trying to imitate the West. Who is an Indian traditionally? Some examples of who can be an Indian. After the shampoo is over, somebody who puts water in it and shakes it and uses the last part, that's an Indian. Somebody whose toothpaste gets over, uses the balan to squeeze out the last part of the toothpaste. That's an Indian. An Indian is somebody who can buy broccoli worth 1,400 rupees and ask dhania patta for free. That's an Indian. So essentially, people in India have a lot of patience to solve problems. But unfortunately, in today's time and age, we have forgotten the most important technology that India is actually famous for, the spiritual technology. Today, we're going to talk about this concept of too busy to be happy from a very deep perspective. From the perspective of how in today's busy world, we need to analyze what really is the purpose of being busy. I'll begin with a story. There were 4 boys who lived in a building which had 100 floors. And these people lived in the 100th floor of the building. So one day, when they reached their apartments, when they reached their building, they realized that the lift is not working. Now, if you live on the 100th floor of a building and the lift doesn't work, it's an anxiety. So these people decided, anyway we have to go up, might as well enjoy climbing. So they all 4 of them decided, we'll tell stories to each other. 25 floors, one fellow tells story. The next 25 floors, another person tells story. Next 25 floors, another person tells. And the last 25 floors, another person tells. Like that, somehow or other, they reach the 100th floor. Exhausted, tired, but happy that they reached the 100th floor. And just when they reach the door of their apartments, they realize that they forgot the key down. Can you imagine climbing a 100th floor building and realizing that you have not got your key? Unfortunately, all of us are exactly like these 4 people. We are on the stairs to success. And many of us are right on top of what we call as a pyramid of success. We are in the pinnacle of our success, but unfortunately, the key to the door of happiness is left somewhere missing. So, how do you define success? Many people define success by many different things. For some people, success means the ability to spend money in the way they want. Unlimited amount of money in unlimited ways of enjoying themselves. That's one definition of success. Unfortunately, this is the wrong definition of success, because success not necessarily only lies in things. Life is a process. It is not a product. Most people try to look at life as a product. That means, if I got this, if I have this gadget, if I have this apartment, if I have this position, if I have this bank balance, then I'm successful. And therefore, what is exactly success? Many people define success according to a certain understanding that the society brands success as. Unfortunately, this definition of success itself changes. This definition of success is what we call as public victory, charisma, what the people think you are. If people think that you're successful, then you're successful. So we always look at what others' opinion are to decide whether we are really successful in life or no. In my childhood, I had a friend who would come to play with us. And this boy, he had a very weird type of habit. Whatever game we would play, just when he would be losing the game, he would throw everything and he will say, we'll start a new game. Playing chess. And he knows he's going to lose. There is no way he can come out of that. He would just throw all the coins. And he will say, we'll start a new game. You play carom, he'll throw everything when he's losing. Unfortunately, today's definition of success, what is called as public victory, is exactly like that. As soon as we think we have reached the definition of what success is, the game changes. Let me give you an example. Suppose somebody thinks being successful means having a Mercedes D-class car. Somebody works hard, intensely hard, accumulating enough money, enough savings, so that at some point of time you buy a Mercedes D-class car. And as soon as you buy the Mercedes D-class car, a E-class comes out. The definition of success has changed totally. And now you have to work all over again to buy the next car, so that you can reach what the definition of success is. And therefore, the key to success lies somewhere else. To get success, you need tremendous amount of determination, hard work, and knowledge. But unfortunately, today, people have no knowledge at all. What is the standard of knowledge today? There was a boy in school who was asked many questions by his teacher, just to test the general IQ level of students. So the teacher asked him, in which battle did Tipu Sultan die? The student said, in his last battle. Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? At the bottom of the page. When was Gandhiji born? On his birthday. In which state does Ganga flow? Liquid state. If you have 6 mangoes and you have to distribute it to 20 people, how will you do it? Make mango milkshake. In India, where does maximum ice fall? Daru ki bottle mein. Today's knowledge is at this level, where people, their understanding, their definition of knowledge itself is so weak. To become successful, you need a lot of patience. And we need to be able to handle failures. failure after failure to become successful in life. In the jungles, when a baby giraffe is born, something very interesting happens. As soon as the baby falls, as soon as the baby is born, basically the giraffes never sit because they have such long legs. If they sit down, they can really never get up. So when the baby giraffe is born, the mother gives birth while she's standing. So naturally the baby falls from such a height. Can you imagine what a way to be born? Duh. Happy birthday. Landing on the ground with a thud. So the baby giraffe, it's born with a shock of its life. And as soon as the baby gets up, it's struggling just to stand on its four legs. As soon as the baby stands up, the mother giraffe kicks the baby hard. One more, duh. The baby goes flying. Just to give you some information, the kick of a giraffe is so powerful that with one kick, a giraffe can kill a lion. That's the power in a giraffe's leg, So with that power, the giraffe kicks a baby and the baby goes flying. The baby giraffe is wondering, what did I do? I'm just born. I can't even do anything wrong. The baby is completely bewildered. And just when the baby again gets up, the mother comes and again kicks the baby. One more kick. Duh! The baby goes flying further. Now the baby is completely confused. Is this mother or somebody else? Again the mother giraffe comes close to the baby. And by now the baby giraffe knows what to expect. And as soon as the mother aims the kick, the baby giraffe dodges and somehow escapes the kick. And from that moment onwards, the mother giraffe starts loving the baby, licking it, giving its affection. Because the mother giraffe knows that in the jungles, the animals, especially the lions, their favorite food is baby giraffe meat. And naturally, the baby giraffe is not equipped to handle such animals, such predators. So even before giving love, the mother gives the child tough love. Life is a teacher, and that's how life teaches us. Therefore, before we really become successful, we have to remember this one thing. We shouldn't just go through life, but we should grow through life. So what really is success? Those who have patience to wait, to learn from life's teachings, achieve what is success. But the problem is, even after achieving what the world considers to be a success, there is one thing missing. That is happiness. And therefore, where does success lie? In one word, success lies in contentment, satisfaction. Many people are looking for happiness in this world. Unfortunately, our definition of happiness, our understanding of happiness is so shallow and so external that whatever experience of happiness we have is just so temporary and superficial. From this understanding, what is happiness? And how do you decide whether you are really successful or no? There is a very beautiful quote that I read some time back. This quote is so deep and meaningful that it makes you ponder. It says, how rich you are is indicated by how many things you have that money can't buy. I'll repeat it. How rich you are is indicated by how many things you have that money can't buy. Many people have unlimited amount of wealth, unlimited amount of things. But unfortunately, though they have so much wealth, so much things, and what we call as success, there is no happiness. Somewhere the element of happiness is missing. There are many things in this world that seem to promise us happiness. And the moment we get that thing, we realize we have the thing but we don't have happiness. And therefore, what we are really struggling for, like this baby pig, is we're trying to struggle for happiness. Unfortunately, our understanding of what happiness is sometimes wrong. And therefore, we need to understand what this concept of happiness really is. Where happiness lies, and more than that, where happiness does not lie. People in this world have a wrong equation of happiness. And therefore, there are only two places where there is unlimited happiness available. One is in the spiritual world, and second is in imagination. As soon as it comes to reality, there is no happiness. Let me give you an example to make us understand this. Suppose you are passing through a Ferrari showroom, Mercedes or BMW showroom. When you see these shining cars, you find them fascinating. And you always imagine yourself driving those cars. Close your eyes, imagine driving a sports car, It feels so nice. As long as that imagination is in your mind, it gives you a lot of enjoyment. But the moment you actually get it, worries start. I had a friend of mine who bought a new car, sports car, almost spending about 1 crore. When he bought this car and he was driving it, after about a week, I found him going in a taxi somewhere. I asked him, what happened to your sports car? He said, don't tell me about my car. The moment I drive the car on the streets, these auto rickshaws and taxis go at such speeds, it gives my heart is really in my mouth, And then even if I somehow or other, manage to drive without getting a scratch on my car, there's no place to park in Bombay. And even if I find a place to park, punctures and, filling fuel, so many anxieties, thieves, robbing things. Happiness in this world, as long as it is on billboards, it's fantastic. But on every billboard, whatever advertising is there is always an asterisk marks that says conditions apply. And therefore, in this world, nothing really comes unconditional. Whatever promises you happiness comes with a condition. Young boy and young girl thinking about marriage, they are in the sky, literally. Lifelong relationship and jiyenge saath mein, marenge saath mein, and movies that promise you unlimited amount of love. As long as it is imagination, it's great. As soon as marriage happens, the reality comes in front, The reality is not that great. And therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita speaks about what is happiness in this world through one very interesting verse which I will share with you all. Krishna says in the Gita, what is not sources of happiness? First defining what is not source of happiness, and then defining what is the source of happiness. He says, Yahi samsparsha jab hoga. He says, when senses come in touch with sense objects, that touch creates a sense of pleasure, which is known as sukha or happiness. The sense of touch, touching something soft, ears, hearing something melodious, the tongue, tasting something very, very sweet and nectarine, the nose, smelling something fragrant. So every touch, every sense, when it comes in touch with sense objects, it creates a sense of pleasure, which is known as happiness in this world. But the problem with that happiness is that yahi samsparsha jab hoga dukkha yoneva evate. That same source of pleasure, it eventually becomes a source of misery. Dukkha yoneva evate. It gives birth to misery. Why? There are three reasons Krishna explains why everything that seems to be happiness in the beginning ends in pain in the end. Yahi samusparsha bhoga dukkha yone evate adi antavanta kaunteya. He says the three reasons why what we experience as happiness in the beginning ends up in misery is because the first reason is everything material has a beginning and an end. People in Japan don't build houses made of brick. Why? They know today or tomorrow there's going to be an earthquake and the whole building is going to collapse. So they just make buildings out of wood so that when the building collapses, they have nothing to lose. They'll make the building again till another earthquake comes. Everything that we experience in the beginning which promises us pleasure, it ends up making us miserable. Let me give you an example. Suppose when you go out of this program, outside there is somebody waiting to give you a gulab jamun. I'm not saying it will happen, I'm saying imagine. If you get a gulab jamun in your hand, juicy, succulent gulab jamun, as soon as you put it in your mouth and bite it, tell me what you feel. This is bliss. As soon as you bite into the gulab jamun, there's an explosion that happens in your mouth and you feel, wow, this is nectar. When you bite into the same gulab jamun the second time, do you feel the same pleasure that you got the first time? No. The pleasure has decreased a little bit. By the time the gulab jamun is over, your experience of pleasure also has come down substantially. Just imagine you're eating the second gulab jamun. First bite of the second gulab jamun. Do you find the same pleasure that you got in the first bite of the first gulab jamun? No. It's already lesser. Suppose you eat the 10th gulab jamun. Will you feel happy? After the 10th gulab jamun, you're miserable. Eating is no more happiness, no more pleasure, it is miserable now. What began as pleasure ends as misery. Same thing with relationships. When relationships begin, it's pleasure, it's euphoric, it's fun. But when the same relationship ends, it's miserable, painful. When a Friday evening comes, excitement, Saturday, Sunday, holiday. When a Monday morning comes, frustration, go back to the same job, see the same boss, frustration. Everything that begins with pleasure ends with pain. That's the nature of happiness in this world. The second problem with happiness is that why we don't experience happiness that lasts. The second problem is that there will be always something or someone in your life that will make your experience of happiness miserable. Everybody has somebody assigned to them. Just like one time there was a small boy who had gone for a birthday party. Very small boy. I mean, when children go for birthday parties, they don't really go to wish their friend and all. They go to eat the cake. This guy, as soon as he entered, he saw the cake. It was a big chocolate cake. He was really tempted to eat that cake. It was really looking nice. And this boy, he was waiting for the whole party to get over. So the cake cutting happens and finally he gets the cake in his hand. So after an hour or so, the cake cutting happened and finally he got a plate of big, thick chunk of chocolate cake on his plate. This guy couldn't wait to bite it. He couldn't wait to eat it. With so much enthusiasm, he picked up the cake and put it in his mouth and bit it. As soon as he bit it, his face turned into a distorted one. The whole cake was not sweet, it was salty. Instead of being baked in sugar, it was baked in salt. This boy thought, maybe this side is salty, I should turn it around this side and bite the other side, Maybe the other side is better, He turned it and bit the other side also salty. every direction he was biting the cake in, the whole cake was salty. And therefore, the cake of this world is baked to be miserable. There will be someone waiting to make your experience of pleasure into pain. Somebody has a mother-in-law waiting to do that. Somebody has a wife waiting to do that. Somebody has a brother waiting to do that. Somebody has a friend waiting to do that. Somebody has a boss waiting to do that. Everyone has somebody assigned specifically to make their life miserable, the experience of pleasure miserable. And the third reason why happiness in this world doesn't really last, doesn't give you that kind of pleasure, is because the contact of the senses with the sense objects, yahi samusparsha jab, the sparsha that Krishna speaks about in the Gita, when the senses come in touch with sense objects, that touch, that pleasure, it can never reach the heart. It can at max reach the level of the mind. Nothing more than that. And satisfaction and fulfillment only can come when the heart experiences it. And therefore, the primary need of the heart is to love and to be loved. Where does happiness really lie? Why don't we have deep, heartfelt experiences of happiness, pleasure? In Sanskrit, there are two words, Sukha and Ananda. Sukha means happiness, Ananda means bliss. One level higher. What is the difference between Sukha and Ananda? In English, everything seems same. Happiness, bliss, all same. But in Sanskrit, it's very different. Sukha means the gap between two miseries. Just now I'm miserable. After 10 minutes, I'm going to be miserable. The gap between the two miseries is called as Sukha in this world, happiness in this world. Just like in the olden times, there used to be the kings who would give punishment. They would dunk a criminal into the pot of water. And they would keep him inside the water till he almost is going to die. And just when he is becoming breathless and is dying, he would pull him out. For a few seconds he would breathe, and again they would dunk him in. That few seconds of breathing is known as Sukha. Happiness in this world depends on external things. The gap between two miseries is called Sukha. But Ananda doesn't depend on anything external. Ananda is something that comes from within. Ananda is something that doesn't depend on things for happiness. And therefore, Krishna concludes this verse of the Gita by saying, Yahi samusparsha javoga dukkha yone evate adi antimanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. The word Ramana is a very important and interesting word in the Gita. Ramana means pleasure. Krishna says, where does happiness really lie in this world? He says, don't look for it in sparsha, senses coming in touch with sense objects. Look for happiness within. Pleasure within, that means it is determined by the state of your mind. Therefore, the mind is something that can turn hell into heaven or heaven into hell. That means if you can really understand and deal with your mind in the right way, in whatever state of life you are, you can be happy. But if you don't know how to deal with your mind properly, no matter how much you have, you will be miserable. And therefore, we need to understand how to deal with our mind. Most of the times, we give the remote control of our mind to somebody else. And somebody else presses a button, we are smiling. Somebody else presses another button, we are crying. We actually allow others to deal with us and control our emotions. And therefore, to deal with our mind, to be able to handle our mind properly, we need to understand what are those things that we can control and influence, and what are those things that we cannot control and we cannot influence. Success Happiness depends on the state of our mind, as I said. Let me give you an example how our mind functions and how we need to learn to deal with our mind. This is a very interesting story, small story, but a very deep story. And this story relates to all of us and our behaviors. One time, there was a small child that wanted a holiday from school. And he found a very unique way of getting a holiday. What he did was, after the school hours, he came back and brought with him 3 sheep. He brought 3 sheep along with him and he numbered the 3 sheep. In one sheep he put the number 1, second sheep he put the number 2, and the third sheep he put the number 4. And he sent the 3 sheep into the school and he went back to home. The next day morning when the staff and the cleaners came, they saw that all over the school there was sheep litter. They started panicking, naturally the sheep inside. They searched all over and they found 3 sheep. 1, 2 and 4. They said, where is the number 3 sheep that is missing? They searched all over the school and they couldn't find the number 3 sheep that is missing. They declared a holiday, emergency, 1 sheep is roaming inside. They were searching for the number 3 sheep that didn't exist. All of us, we are exactly like these people. We are looking for happiness in the number 3 sheep in life that doesn't exist. We are looking for happiness in the number 3 relationship that doesn't exist. We are looking for happiness in the number 3 position in our job that doesn't exist. We are looking for happiness in the number 3 bank balance that doesn't exist. Number 3 car that doesn't exist. In the process of trying to find happiness in the number 3 that doesn't exist, we forget to enjoy the 1, 2 and 4 that we already have. That's the nature of the mind. To be completely dissatisfied with what you have and to look for satisfaction in what you don't have. And therefore, one of the ways in which the mind really pushes us in this direction is by comparisons. Unhealthy comparisons. Nobody in this world is perfect when he is born. Everybody has imperfections. And naturally, nobody is irreplaceable. Unfortunately, whatever shortcomings we have, we start looking at others and comparing ourselves with others. Whatever strengths we have, we start comparing ourselves with others. Very often, when a child is born, many times parents get their children and show me, one of the first things they tell me is that, how does a child look, like father or mother? I tell them, child looks neither like father nor like mother. Child looks like himself or herself only. The day the child is born, you're teaching the child to compare. And naturally, with that kind of mindset of comparison, we're going to create the same unhealthy competitive spirit in a child. And therefore, it is very important to understand that people need appreciation for what they are, not for what you want them to become. Today's generation is a very selfish generation. The most selfish 1-letter word is the word I. And therefore, everything today revolves around that word I. iPhone, iPad, I paid. I stands for expectations. We are living a life of super high expectations. And everything revolves around my expectations. My likes, my dislikes, my opinions. And naturally, everyone, no matter what the relationship is, there is always an expectation, what I can expect from the relationship. One time, a 5-year-old son goes to a mother and he says, I love you. The mother tells the child, I also love you. The child grows up and he becomes 16-year-old and he goes to the mother and tells her, I love you. The mother asks him, how much money do you want? The child becomes older, he becomes 25 years old and he comes to the mother and says, I love you. The mother says, who is she? Where does she stay? We will arrange, don't worry. The child becomes 40-year-old and he goes to the mother and says, I love you. The mother says, I told you not to marry her. The child becomes 60 years old and he goes to the mother and says, I love you. The mother says, I will not sign any paper, get lost from here. We are always worried about ourselves. Marriage means expectations. For most people, they have such high expectations from one another. One time, a wife comes to the husband and asks him, do I come in your dreams? The husband says, no, I chant Hanuman Chalisa. Bhoot Pishach nikat nahi aave. Even in religion, there is so much expectation. When you come to the temple, the question people ask is, what will I get when I come here? Essentially, the more we live a life of I, the more we will be frustrated. There is no one in this world that can satisfy your expectations. And therefore, we need to understand that the most selfish one-letter word is I, and we need to avoid it. And how do we avoid it? By accepting the realities of life. When we align our expectations with the realities of life, then we can deal with those expectations. Unfortunately, today, our expectations are sky high and the reality is on the ground. The bigger the gap between expectation and reality, the more there is frustration. And therefore, people live a life of expectations. What we need to start doing is start accepting ourselves as we are. Acceptance will keep us emotionally tranquil, and non-acceptance will keep us emotionally agitated. The more we start accepting ourselves as we are, the more stable and peaceful we'll become. If something is happening not the way I want it to happen, and if I accept it, it becomes known as tolerance. But if I don't accept it, it becomes anger. Whenever I face uncertainty in life, and if I don't accept that uncertainty, it causes fear. But whenever I face uncertainty with acceptance, it's no more called uncertainty, it is called adventure. People jump from mountains, bungee jumping. People jump from planes. So much uncertainty. But because they have accepted that uncertainty, it doesn't lead to fear, but it's called adventure. When someone has something that we don't have, or someone has that, we're not able to achieve something that somebody else has, if you're not able to accept it, it is called as jealousy. But the moment we accept it, it is called as inspiration. We get inspired by that person. If someone has hurt us and we're not able to accept it, it's called hatred. But the moment we accept it, it is called forgiveness. So anything that is dealt with acceptance is a positive emotion, and anything that is dealt with non-acceptance is a negative emotion. And therefore, for everything that happens to us in our life, and who we are, the kind of personality that we are, we have to first learn to accept it and be peaceful with ourselves. Unfortunately, today, most people are not peaceful with themselves, and they want what others have. And therefore, people remain unhappy and frustrated. There are two ways to be unhappy in life. Most people will tell you 2 ways to be happy in life. I am telling you 2 ways how to be unhappy in life. And if you practice these 2 ways, you will surely be unhappy. I can guarantee you it will work. So the first way to be unhappy in life is try to make everybody happy. If you try to make everybody happy, one person will be unhappy, that is you. Jesus Christ and Krishna tried to make everybody happy and they couldn't. What to speak of you and me? So if you try to make everybody happy, you will be unhappy. And the second way to be unhappy is try to make everybody happy with you. If you try to make everybody happy with you, 99 people are very happy with you, and one person is unhappy with you. You will be frustrated, thinking, why that one fellow is unhappy? And therefore, we have to understand that unless I am at peace with myself, I cannot make others happy with me. When you squeeze a fruit, what juice will come out? Depends on what is inside that fruit, what fruit it is made up of. If you squeeze a mango, mango juice will come out. You can't expect orange juice to come out. Similarly, when life squeezes you, what will come out is what is inside you. And therefore, unless you start being happy, start loving yourself, start accepting yourself as you are, you will always look for comparing with others and not be able to accept the reality, but you will always expect something different from life. And therefore, people don't cherish relationships because they're always in this mode of expectation and they have not accepted themselves only. And how will others accept you? Most people define themselves by the way they look, the color of their hair, the color of the skin, the way they are dressed, all external things. And therefore, the reason they are not happy with themselves is because they have not done something substantial in life. Not everything that looks good is good. A perfume bottle. The perfume bottles are the most well-designed bottles in the world. Extremely nicely shaped, nicely designed. Just because the bottle looks good, can we drink it? You will die if you drink perfume. Similarly, just by looking at external, you can't decide whether the person internally is great or not. Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Shubha Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON. If you look at all of them, they were not really great looking people. Externally, nobody commented about their beauty or anything like that. But they are known not because of their externals, but because of what they did. And because what they did was so substantial, nobody ever looks at them. Once you start doing something substantial, nobody cares for how you look. The most satisfying two-letter word in this world is V. Success on one level is judged by what kind of gadgets and things you have. But on another level, success is judged by what kind of relationships you have. If you want to know how rich you are, drop a tear and see how many hands come to wipe it. What is the point in having so much but being alone? Even if you enjoy life, to enjoy life, you need one more person. And therefore, you cannot enjoy life alone. Not possible at all. One person, every day he would go to a bar to drink. And he did something very weird. Every day he would do something very weird. The bar fellow, he didn't understand what he was trying to do exactly. He would order 3 glasses of alcohol every day. And 1 glass naturally he would drink, and other 2 glasses would be in front of him. First he would pick up 1 glass and say, "Cheers to my friend in Abu Dhabi," and drink that. Then he would pick up the second glass and say, "Cheers to my friend in Dubai," and drink that. And third he will say, "Cheers to myself," and then he will drink that. One day, he only ordered 2 glasses. So the bartender asked him, "What happened? One of your friend died or something? What exactly happened?" He said, "No, I have become a Hare Krishna devotee, so I don't drink." Many people want to be happy in life, but unfortunately, they end up being happy alone. It is not possible for you to experience pleasure alone. We need one another. Our life is colorful. The question is our life useful? Most people in life want to be with people who add colors to your life. But we should also be with people who add value to your life. And therefore, when we try to overcome difficulties, when we try to overcome bad habits, when we try to overcome shortcomings, we need the company of people who can uplift us. And therefore, the most satisfying two-letter word is V. We have to learn to use it. One time, there was a man who went to, who died, and he got a choice. Either you go to heaven or you go to hell. So, he wanted to know what is the difference between heaven and hell. So, the person took him around, first showed him hell. And when the door opened, he saw there were a lot of people and there was a big pot in between. And all of them had a spoon, a big spoon tied to their hands. And the spoon was tied in such a way they couldn't bend their hand. Though the food was in front of them, though they had spoons tied to their hand, all of them were hungry, starving. So he said, this is heaven, this is hell. So he said, now I want to see what heaven looks. So they took him to heaven. And there also same thing. Big pot in between, and there was unlimited food in it, and everybody had their arms tied to a spoon. But the interesting part was, in heaven, everybody looked completely nourished and happy. This man got confused. He said, how is it possible? Same situation there and same situation here. Why are people happy here and why are people suffering and malnourished over there? This man said, principle is very simple. In heaven, though their hands are tied up with a spoon to their hand, they feed each other. So with the spoon tied, you can't eat with the same spoon, but you can show that spoon to somebody else and feed the other person. In heaven, everybody feed each other. In hell, nobody wants to feed the other fellow. So in the end, they starve themselves. This is the difference between heaven and hell. The most poisonous three-letter word, which actually destroys everything, is the ego. The ego is such a thing that it destroys practically all relationships. It is said that relationships don't die a natural death. They are murdered by the ego. And therefore, what we need to do is transform the ego, understanding that we need one another, and no matter how much we hurt each other, we actually have nobody else except each other. One time, the ego can be transformed by humility. When we understand that alone I can't do anything. One time there was a group of porcupines. Porcupines are small animals which have very sharp hair, quills they are called. So this group of porcupines, they were living in a very cold country. And when the winter time came, it became really cold. So they didn't know how to handle this cold. They decided to have a meeting. So they all came together for this meeting. When they came together, they found out that just by coming together, their cold decreased. They actually felt warm because of each other's company. But there was a problem. The problem was that when they came together, the quills were poking each other. One porcupine's quills were poking the other. So they were all pricking each other, hurting each other like anything. But they were actually happy. But they were at least warm. Some of the porcupines couldn't handle this pricking. They said, hell with all of you all, we are going on our own. All those porcupines who went away, they all died because of the cold, intense cold. All the porcupines who stayed together, they were hurting each other, but they were happily living. This is a family. Family means people who stay together, fighting with each other. There is no family that can happen where no fights happen. Can you imagine, suppose you enter into your home, and as soon as you enter, you're exhausted, entering into home. As soon as you enter home, your wife's smiling, very well dressed, very well, decorated, and then she has made the best food you possibly can eat every day, best food, and children are very obedient, very, very quiet, always asking you, how can we serve you, daddy, It's a frustrating place to live in, How long can you live in such a place? It almost looks like a 5-star hotel, Home means there have to be fights. Home means there have to be boring moments. Home means there have to be some laughing moments. Home means full-fledged movie. In a home where expression is not allowed, expression is not expected, that's not a home, it's a hostel. It's a forced area. When you go to in an airplane and the air hostess comes and asks you, how can I serve you, sir? If she's not paid, she will not care a damn for you. That's external. But when you come at home, that's the reality. Therefore, what is a home? The Telugu movie defines it. If you want to know what a Telugu movie is in one sentence, it is Okku Patu, Okku Fightu. One song, one fight. One song, one fight. That's a home, Some nice moments and then fights will happen, Without fights, no home. Home is a boring place, right? And therefore, whenever the ego comes in, remember the porcupines. We may poke each other, but we have to be together to survive the cold. And that's where we have to understand the most used 4-letter word, which is love. And we need to learn to value it. All said and done, India is a place where love is available even today. India is a place where people care for one another even today. You go and stay in America for 1 month, you'll come back depressed because nobody cares for one another over there. One of our devotees, he was traveling and in America, he met a Westerner, young Western man studying in a college over there. He came to him and spoke in perfect Hindi. Now this devotee was completely bewildered. How is this guy understanding Hindi so well? He's speaking Hindi so well. And he shared his story. Very interesting story. He said, in my childhood, I never got any love from my father and mother. One time I complained to my father that I never got love of mother till now. The father, American man, he told him, if you want love of mother, go to India. India is the only place where love is available. This man, this young boy, he actually took a flight and came to India. And he landed in a place known as Varanasi. And in Varanasi, he was just hanging around, observing things, seeing people. He saw a illiterate lady, simple lady in Varanasi, giving a lot of care and affection for her small son. This man walked up to this lady, young man walked up to this lady and told her, can you be my mother? I'll pay you for it. The lady was completely bewildered. She said, go and talk to my husband. I don't know what you're talking about. He went to the husband, the lady's husband, and he told her, I want a mother. I am ready to pay every month 20,000 rupees if somebody can give me motherly love. The husband said, get 2-3 more people, we'll give you. This boy stayed in their house for 5 months. And this boy felt so nourished, so much loved and cared for by the affection of a mother who was a stranger to him. And therefore, when we understand that each and every one of us, inside our heart, there is some crying going on. All of us are crying. And why are we crying? The reason we are crying is because we're all hankering for love. Unfortunately, our understanding of love has changed a little bit. Things in this world are meant to be used, and people in this world are meant to be loved. But unfortunately, we're doing exactly the opposite. We are loving things and using people. And because we are loving things and using people, our love, our experience of love in this world is miserable and incomplete. I want to show you all a small video. Very interesting how people in this world are completely flipped by technology and things. And they have really forgotten what the meaning of love is.
ตื่นมาแล้วร้องใหญ่เลยอะแม่
สงสัยหิวนมลุก
ให้แม่
เปิดการ์ตูน
โอเคการ์ตูนแล้วการ์ตูนไหมแม่ลูกไม่ได้ติดการ์ตูนลูกติดแม่โอเคไหม
งั้นเอางี้
ลูกคุยกับแม่หน่อยนะคุยกับแม่
จะเอ๋ให้อยู่นี่ไงลูกเห็นแม่ไหมคะจำยังไม่ได้จะเอ๋มัมกินจังเลยปังเป้งปังเป้งปังเป้งปังเป้งปังเป้งไม่ร้องนะ
Our understanding of love is so much based on things today that our ability to connect with people has come down drastically. And if this happens in a land like India, where there is so much hope from the world, what's going to happen in worlds where there is absolutely no connection with the concept of actually exchanging true love? Unfortunately, no love in this world can actually satisfy us, because all the love in this world is ridden with expectations and frustrations. People expect us to be somebody else, and people are not ready to accept us as we are. People in this world will love us as long as we satisfy their expectations. And if we don't satisfy the expectation, they'll start passing sly comments. People in this world can really disappoint us, including people whom we love the most. And even if there is one person in this world who can actually give us true love, selfless love, then time takes that person away also. Time disappoints us. And therefore, there's only one person who can actually give us true love, and that's God. So we have to learn to connect with the deeper love of God, that is a lasting love. So the most used 4-letter word is love, and we have to learn to value it. And how do we learn to value love? Especially in relationships where there is so much complication, where there is so much frustration, where there is so much expectations. Sometimes relationships in this world do tend to hurt us. And when people whom we love the most hurt us the most, we don't know how to handle it. 30 years of relationship can get destroyed in 30 seconds if you don't know how to handle this. And therefore, I would like to share a story from the Ramayana that really helps us in seeing relationships from a totally different perspective. Learning a technique which is very simple, but at the same time very difficult to practice if not well thought about. This is a story from the Ramayana where Ram, Lakshman and Sita are in the forest, and the golden deer has come into their life. This story is a story that I tell very often, but this is a story whenever I tell and wherever I tell, it has always touched people's hearts, because this is exactly what we are going through and we need to hear. When the golden deer comes, Mother Sita tells Ram to get the deer for her, and Ram leaves to get the golden deer. And when Ram goes away, he tells Lakshman to stay and guard Sita. Sita, she is waiting for Ram to come back. In the meanwhile, the golden deer eventually becomes a demon named Marich. And Ram realizes it's a demon. He shoots an arrow and kills Marich. While Marich is dying, just before he dies, in the voice of Ram, he shouts out the name of Lakshman and Sita, and he dies. Here, Sita and Lakshman, they hear the voice of Ram calling out their names. Sita starts panicking. Lakshman is completely cool and calm because he understands this cannot be the voice of Ram. He tells Sita also. Sita is very concerned about Ram and Lakshman is very confident about Ram. Conflict in relationships happen when two people, it's not that when two people have two different intentions. They have the same intentions, but their understanding and their opinion is two different things. Sita is concerned about Ram and Lakshman is confident about Ram. Sita tells Lakshman, go and help your brother. Lakshman tells, don't worry, my brother doesn't need any help. Sita gets really annoyed with Lakshman's complacency. And at some point of time, she speaks something that really hurts Lakshman like anything. Just to give you a background, this section of the Ramayana takes place 13 years after exile. That means for 13 long years, Lakshman has been serving Sita and Ram like a servant, literally. All night long he has been guarding them. All day long he has been serving them menially. Giving up his wife, giving up his family, giving up his comforts, giving up the wealth of Ayodhya, and just unconditionally serving them for 13 years. After 13 long years of such sacrifice, this is what Sita tells him. Sita tells him, I know why you have come here into the forest with us. You are waiting for an opportunity to enjoy me when Ram is away. She doubts his character. Can you imagine? Lakshman, when he hears this, he feels so hurt. He tells Sita, I'm going away from here, but I know when I come back, you will not be here. And Lakshman leaves. When he reaches where Ram is, Ram asks him, who told you to come here? I told you to guard Sita. And then they come back and they find Sita missing. Ram gets wild on Lakshman, blasts Lakshman like anything. And he tells him, you are useless, you have no competence, you're fit for nothing. Blasting him like anything. Two people whom he has given his life to, whom he has given his youth to, whom he has given everything to, one is doubting his character and one is doubting his competence. Somebody whose character and competence is doubted, what is there to survive? What is there to remain in the relationship for? If there was anybody else in Lakshman's place, they would have said, hell with both of them, I'm going back to Ayodhya. Packed the luggage and gone back. But Lakshman continued serving Sita and Ram even after that. Why? What made Lakshman, what inspired Lakshman to continue serving Sita and Ram? Lakshman did what I call as press the pause button. Whenever you are seeing an action-packed movie and suddenly a phone call comes, what do? Press the pause button. Wait for some time so that I don't miss out any action. So Lakshman pressed the pause button. After he pressed the pause button, he asked himself a question. When Sita spoke those words, he pressed the pause button. And he asked himself the question, does Sita actually mean what she's speaking? And then he realized that Sita doesn't mean what she's speaking. Those words that came out from Sita's mouth are her concern for Ram coming out in the form of those words. And when Ram spoke those words, he again pressed the pause button and he asked himself this question, does Ram really mean what he's speaking? And he realized that Ram doesn't mean what he's speaking, his concern for Sita is coming out in the form of those words. Whenever I tell the story, people always ask me, forget pressing the pause button. In such situations in life, we don't know where the remote control is. Completely we are out of control, What to speak of pressing the pause button? What inspired Lakshman to press the pause button? Just to give you a background of Lakshman's personality, he was not a regular person. He was an angry young man. At the drop of the hat, he would get angry. In fact, he was so angry at one point, he was going to kill his own father. Can you imagine what an angry person he was? For you and me, we are not so angry people. At least, hope not, If Lakshman, being such an angry person, could press the pause button, you and me can definitely do it. As I was saying, 30 years of relationship can get destroyed if you don't know how to press the pause button in those 30 seconds. What inspired Lakshman to press the pause button? One thought. The one thought that inspired Lakshman to press the pause button was this. Lakshman thought, 25 years Sita has deposited love in this relationship and she has made one mistake. She has made one withdrawal. Should I forget the 25 years of love? Should I be ungrateful for the 25 years of love for this one mistake that she made? And when Ram made that mistake, he again asked him, he had this one thought. Should I be ungrateful for the 40 years of love Ram has deposited in this relationship for this one mistake that he made? The moment he had this one thought of gratitude, Lakshman said, it's worth pressing the pause button. In relationships in life, all of us will go through such phases where we tend to be reactive. Whenever we go through phases in life where we tend to be reactive, we have to remember the story of Lakshman and press the pause button. In relationships, we will always come across situations where things are going out of our hand. And whenever we find things going out of our hand, we should remember the pause button. I often tell the story of a lady who was in a mall and her small daughter, she was crying like mad in the mall, making a racket. So this lady, she wanted to pacify her daughter, make her daughter calm. So she was trying her best, So there was an old man who was watching the scene, and this lady was, facing her daughter and she was telling, Jennifer, relax. The daughter kept crying like mad. The lady said, Jennifer, don't react, relax. The girl kept crying even more. She said, Jennifer, don't make a scene in the mall. Don't react, relax. This old man, he couldn't handle it. He walked up to this lady and he told her, ma'am, don't you think you're speaking a language that is too adult-like for your daughter to understand? She can't understand this language. Jennifer, relax. This lady looked at this old man and she said, what makes you think that I'm speaking to her? I'm speaking to myself. Jennifer is my name. I'm telling myself, Jennifer, relax. That's when this man understood. It's right. There are many things in life where we can't do anything. Whenever we come in such situations, we should tell ourselves, Jennifer, relax. When you're standing in a queue and somebody jumps the queue and goes ahead, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. When you are standing outside your toilet and your family member is not coming out only, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. When you are in a hotel, you go with your family to a hotel to have a nice relaxed time. But even there we are always worked up, agitated like anything. We place an order and we are constantly looking at the door when that waiter is going to come out, You tell yourself, Jennifer, relax, Finally the waiter comes out and goes and gives the order to the next table. You are irritated, you are firing that fellow like anything. Tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. There are many things in life that you can't solve. What you can actually solve, the only thing that you can actually solve is the way you react. Rather than reacting, we have to learn to press the pause button and respond. The difference between reacting and responding is that one moment of thought. And that one moment of thought can help us handle hundreds of relationships and it can give us a lot of stability in our lives. And therefore, in life, success on one level means accolades, on one level means achievements, on one level means awards, people appreciating, charisma. But there's a deeper level to success, which means contentment, fulfillment, satisfaction, happiness, joy, meaningful life. And therefore, the second definition of success is not something external, but it is something internal. The second definition of success is what is known as private victory. Private victory means those experiences of success that don't externally mean anything. Those experiences of success that mean something deep only to you and to somebody that you have affected. I would like to share with you all a small video that will just bring this thought very powerfully out. In life, there are more things than public victory. The more you fill your life with such private victories, the more there will be meaning and depth in your life. The more you fill your life with what is called as public victory, the more you will find yourself to be hollow and lonely. In life, there are 4 Qs which are called the 4 Qs of life. Each of these 4 Qs is a box that we need to fulfill, we need to cater to. Unfortunately, most people, they only talk about 2 of these Qs. The first Q is known as PQ, physical quotient. Shivaji Park caters very much to that, People run around Shivaji Park, very healthy, very good, very, very encouraged. But that's the first quotient of life, PQ. Beyond PQ is a second quotient which is known as IQ, the intellectual quotient, which is what our education systems, colleges, schools award us. When people get into job interviews, in the olden times, only these 2 Qs would be checked, IQ and PQ. If your physical quotient is good and IQ is good, you're taken in. But today, when companies hire people, they don't just look at IQ and PQ, they also look at what is known as EQ. EQ stands for emotional quotient. What does emotional quotient talk about? Emotional quotient talks about everything we spoke today. Emotional quotient is your ability to handle relationships, your ability to handle pressure in times that are complicated, your ability to handle failures, your ability to deal with people, your ability to deal with tough situations in life. Most people who have excellent PQs and excellent IQs but have not really invested in the EQ of life, they're actually failures in society. And therefore you'll find so many people who are highly qualified, having the highest degrees the country can afford, they are utter failures in their careers. Why? They have never really worked on their EQ. And therefore, EQ is a very important phenomena to harness, to cater to. But more important than EQ is a fourth Q, which is known as SQ, the spiritual quotient. SQ stands for character levels. SQ stands for integrity levels. In organizations today, more important than EQ is SQ, is because how much can I trust you? Where does your loyalty break? India today is fighting corruption. Naturally, SQ has a big role to play. Everybody has a level at which their loyalty breaks. That determines what the quotient is, SQ quotient is. Somebody whose SQ quotient is very low, their loyalty breaks very low. Somebody whose SQ quotient is very high, they have a very high level to which their loyalty helps them stand. There are people whose loyalty never breaks because they have really worked on their SQ very strongly. There is a disease which is known as macrodactyly. Those who are doctors will understand this. But this disease is very simple in simple terms is one of the limbs of the body get overdeveloped. Either the finger becomes really big, or the head becomes really big, ear becomes really big, completely disproportionate. Actually, all of us in that sense suffer from macrodactyly. Because all of us have focused on one or two of these cues, which have become completely overdeveloped, but all other things are underdeveloped, especially the IQ, the EQ and the SQ. And because EQ is underdeveloped and SQ is underdeveloped, naturally people have difficulty in handling turbulences in life. SQ and EQ being strong is about seeking internal security during turbulent times in life. I'll tell you a story, and this is the story of all of our lives. There was an old lady, and this old lady, she had a parrot, a talking parrot. She loved this parrot. One day, she decided to go and buy a cage for this parrot. And she got a golden cage, actual full gold. And she put this parrot inside the cage. But the problem was, she started loving the cage more than the parrot. And she every day would polish the cage to make it shine. And she spent so many hours polishing the cage, so many hours polishing the cage. The parrot inside the cage was crying for food, crying for some care. But the lady had no time for the parrot. She was focused on the cage. And she took so much care of the cage that ultimately the parrot died. Today, society is going through exactly the same situation. The golden cage is our external self, the body, the PQ. And we have become so expert in taking care of the body. Hours spent in front of the mirror, not even calculated. Hours spent in the gym, not even seen. Hours spent in hotels and eateries. Unlimited amount of care for the body. I'm not even talking about the hours spent in the beauty parlors. So much care for the body. The golden cage is being polished and polished and polished. But inside there's a talking parrot that is screaming, yelling, seeking attention. But unfortunately, we have no time for that parrot. And therefore, what is SQ? SQ is the ability to feed the parrot which is inside you. Why do people need psychiatrists today? Why do people go through depression today? Why do people go through suicidal tendencies today? Why do people go through loneliness today? And why do people have great challenges in maintaining relationships today? The reason is because they have never really focused on developing their EQ and developing their SQ. I'll end with a story. One time, there was an eagle that was flying in the air. And as this eagle was flying in the air, mother eagle, she actually laid an egg right in the middle of the air, right in the middle of a flight. And as the egg fell, it fell on a stack of hay. It survived the fall. It rolled down and came and joined a nest of a hen which had a couple of eggs already. When the mother hen came, she was completely confused because she saw her eggs were so small and the eagle egg was really big. So she couldn't figure out, how did I lay such a big egg? But she said, anyway, this egg is in my nest, so it's my egg. I have to take care of it. I have the responsibility. So the hen started taking care of all the eggs. The other eggs hatched soon. Small chicks were born out of these eggs. And this big egg was not hatching at all. It took a substantial amount of time. Finally, the baby eagle was born. The mother hen, she took care of the baby eagle exactly like the way she took care of her other children. The baby eagle started growing up with these other hens. They started growing bigger and bigger slowly. The eagle, he learned all the habits of the hen. He learned how only to look down and how only to eat grains which are on the ground. The eagle learned how never to fly in its life. The eagle learned all the habits of the hen. It was fighting with the other hens, enjoying life like the other hens, living on the ground like the other hens. As the other hens grew to a certain size, they stopped growing. But this eagle became bigger and bigger and bigger. Though it became so huge, still it behaved exactly like a hen. One time there was a wise man who was passing by that village and he saw this odd behavior of this eagle. He got confused. There's something is wrong with this eagle. And then he decided to help the eagle. He took the eagle on top of a hill. And from top of the hill, he threw the eagle into the air, hoping the eagle would learn to fly. As this man threw the eagle into the air, the eagle started panicking, fluttered, but it just couldn't fly. It somehow or the other fell down, landed safely, but it had lost its confidence to fly. It had no ability to fly. This man said, let me try again. Went down, picked up the eagle, brought it again on top of the mountain. This time he did something different. He caught the neck of the eagle and turned it upwards. For the first time in the life of that eagle, the eagle saw the sun. The moment the eagle looked at the sun, saw the sun, all its memories came back. It remembered who he is, what is its natural propensity, what is its nature. This man threw the eagle into the air, and the eagle started flying towards the sun literally. And from then onwards, the eagle never ever landed down because it understood what its true nature is. All of us are exactly like this eagle. Whenever an eagle goes through storms, have you ever seen an eagle in a storm? There are two options the eagle has. One option is that the eagle can come down when the thunderstorm rains and lightning is going on. It can wait on the ground for some time. Or it can fly higher than the clouds that have created the storm. The eagle always does the second option. Whenever a storm is there, you will never find eagle below the storm. It always flies above the storms. All of us are exactly like this eagle. Unfortunately, we have forgotten our identity. It is explained that we are not human beings with a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings with a human experience. We have completely forgotten who we are. We have completely forgotten what is the purpose of life. We have completely forgotten how to prioritize the SQ. We are so much focusing on the PQ and the IQ of life that we have no time for the EQ and SQ of life. And therefore, whenever a storm comes into our life, we are struggling. and the rains, wind, lightning, thunder, we are scared, we are frustrated, we are angry, we are sad. And therefore, unless we learn that we are an eagle and we have to learn how to fly above the storms, above the clouds that create the storm, and that's what the knowledge of SQ will lead us to. What we are offering you all through the Jagrati program is a sample of what actually lies in the path of SQ. What we are actually offering you is a small taste in these 2 days of what really lies in the depth of what SQ is and what EQ is. If you really want to learn more details about how you can actually fly above the clouds, I would highly recommend you all to join the course that we're talking about, the journey of self-discovery. Some of you all were there yesterday. I'll repeat what I spoke yesterday, and for those who weren't there, you should definitely hear this. This journey of self-discovery is a course that will give you a launch pad to SQ. This course will give you a deep insight to what really spirituality means. This course is the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita condensed into 6 sessions. The first day is called the search for happiness. All of us are searching for happiness in this world, but our experience of happiness is very, very flickering and temporary. How do we get permanent, real happiness in this world? That's what the day 1 is about, is an introductory session. Day 2 is called, Does God Exist? All of us, to some extent or other, believe in God. But unfortunately, our belief is not based on logic and reasoning. Our belief is based on emotions. And as long as we have faith and belief which is based on emotions, it will always be transitory. Does God Exist is a session that talks about how to understand logically and scientifically the existence or non-existence of God. Day 3 is a session which is known as Who Am I? It is actually the science of the soul. It's actually a very introspective topic to understand what our real nature is. We're trying to polish the cage, the golden cage. We've forgotten that there is a parrot inside that cage. All of us are taking very good care of this external physical self, but we've forgotten who we really are. Day 3 will answer this question very deeply. Day 4 is a topic which is known as One God or Many Gods. As I was saying yesterday, India is a market house of gods. Every second day, a new god is being born. At one point of time, there were 30 people in India who were claiming themselves to be Kalki Avatar. How do you understand this? One God or many gods is a topic that really helps us understand this phenomenon. Day 5 is a topic for which most people come for this course. It's called, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? I think today, the opposite question is more important. Why do good things happen to bad people? I mean, we find all the time bad people are thriving, happy, seem to be contented, and good people are miserable, sad, nothing good happens to them. To answer this question, to understand the answer to this question, you have to attend day 5. But you can't attend day 5 unless you attend first 4 days. It's very systematic. Day 5 will be Greek and Latin if you don't understand here the first 4 days. And day 6 is about practical application of Gita in daily life. How to apply the teachings of Gita in your life today. Without having to compromise, without having to give up a careers, without having to give up a family, without having to give up any of your responsibilities, while living at home, how to practice the Bhagavad Gita. That's day 6. I would highly recommend all of y'all to attend all these 6 sessions. We're going to do it on Saturdays, starting from 25th of this month. So please kindly register for this course. Who would like to come, you can consult at the back of the registration counter. And I can tell you, this will be a solid launch pad for you all to understand the 2 aspects of life that you have always neglected, the EQ and the SQ. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.